Hi, welcome to my channel. I'm Steve Down and this is my guitar. Thank you so much for joining us. We finally made it to a new episode, and this episode is looking at Larry Carlton's Friday Night Shuffle, taken from his 1990 album, Sapphire Blue. It's a wicked album, and we're going to take a look at the whole thing. I'll transcribe the sax solo at the end of this whole series, and for now we're going to take a look at all of the guitar stuff, including the rhythm bits, and all the comping and everything. And we have a backing track that's made by my good friends Josiah Manning and Joe Harris on Hammond organ, bass and drums respectively. Thank you so much for bearing with me. It's been a big year for me. I've moved house. There's been a few changes in my personal life, and then there's also been a huge amount of touring. I've been made Joss Stone's MD, and I've just got back and finished my final performance, which was actually playing for the Pope in Vatican City, which was hilarious and surreal. But we're there. So without further ado, I'd like to say a massive thanks to my patrons who have supported me over the year. Thank you so much for your kind words and for all of your support financially as well. And thanks just generally for just being there and being patient with me as I got this track out and track made whilst I was still on tour and getting this lesson sorted. So thank you so much for all of your support. It's been absolutely overwhelming and amazing. So I'm going to read out the names of the people that have signed up in the last month. I haven't got all of the names of everyone over the whole year, but here's the ones from the last month. So, massive thank you to Farlow Fan, Angels of Fire, Forrest Titcomb, Jalex123, Pastor Guiana, Sebastian Alvarez, Peter Lynch, Grape Juice, Trevor Sildell, John Dean, Darrell Hobbs, Renee Koenig, Johannes Vognersgaard Brunsberg. I think that's how you pronounce it. I'm really sorry, Johannes, if I'm not pronouncing that rightly. Katerina Vasava, Kevin Marchand, and Thomas Frey or Fry. Thank you so much to all you guys who've signed up over the last month. It's been amazing to have all this support. But thank you to everyone who signed up. If you want to get all of the backing tracks, chord scale and example arpeggio packs for not just this series, but for every series that I've done on YouTube, and a few extra bits and pieces as well, please do go to www.patreon.com/Exeter Guitar Lessons and sign up there for as little as $3 a month. You can get all of that. And then there's an extra tier where you can get a transcription of your choice for a solo. And then also you can go up another tier and you can get a lesson with me as well as everything else on the previous tiers. So please do head over to the link below if you want that. And then if you don't want to subscribe to anything but you do want to show some support, then buy me a coffee. There's a link below. And then, as I appreciate this time of year, it's not always great to be adding extra expense in. So if you just want to show some support, then do just hit the like and subscribe button and drop me a comment, please, as well. I do like to hear from everyone, so just drop me a comment below. So thanks so much, everyone, for all their support. Without further ado, let's get on with the show. So let's take a look at the groove at the very beginning. It is a 12-bar blues, but there's a groove straight at the start. And there is some sax stuff, but I haven't put that on the track just so that you can hear the groove that's on there. So this is the groove. Here we go. Okay, so this groove is clean. It's played clean. I'm fairly sure it's on a kind of Fender-y guitar, but I know the rest of it is on a 335, which is what I've got here, and I've tried to get close to the sound that he's got. But yeah, it's a clean groove, and this is it isolated. So you can see it's a shuffle groove with a couple of extra pushed bits and pieces as well. That on there as well. So you've got those kind of pushed quavers on there as well. And then you've also got some extra little bits on there as well. And then that's going on there as well. So that's just him kind of picking around those chords. So it's useful to know this kind of what we call sixth movement here. So, and then he's adding in the third going back to the ninth there. So that's a classic blues movement. So it's well worth understanding what's going on there. And you can extrapolate that out to all the other chords. So it's well worth learning that. It's also worth learning how to play it in other positions on the neck as well. So learning the chord, the G13 chord, which on the guitar doesn't have all of the extensions underneath it. It just has the 3rd, the 7th, and the 13th itself, so B, F, and E respectively there. On a piano, you'd be able to add in the 9th and the 11th if you wanted to. You don't necessarily have to. As long as it's got the 3rd and the 7th, that 13th on there is still valid to be called a 13th chord. Sorry for all you theory haters out there. This is just how it works on guitar. We don't have as many fingers at our disposal as piano players do. So we still call it a G13 chord. So here's some other places where you can play that G13 chord. And then here's an example of me using this kind of 6th movement and a few different voicings of the G13 chord so that you can have a go yourself at doing that. So here's that. So you can see that, I mean, it's fairly complex what I'm doing there. Don't necessarily feel like you have to play that when you're playing this tune if you're covering it, but you can take bits and pieces from it and just add it into your arsenal of groove-based stuff. Just remember, you are playing underneath someone else there, so you don't want to be grandstanding. You want to make sure that you're being nice and tasteful. Let's move on to the actual bit where the band comes in and the 12-bar blues starts. So that's here. So these 4 bars here, going from G13 to C9 and then back to G13 for 2 bars. So the first 4 bars, the first third of the 12-bar blues. Here we are using the major and the minor pentatonic here. So here's those 2 scales. What Larry's doing here is he's mostly using the major pentatonic over the top of the G chord, and then he's using the minor pentatonic over the top of the C chord. And the reason why is because when you get to the minor pentatonic, you get that B flat in there. And so you've still got the kind of like the juicy G-ness that's in there, but you've got the B flat, which kind of spells out the C7 chord. Remember, the C7 has a B flat in it rather than a B natural. If you were to play that B natural over the top of the C chord, it would sound really clashy. Some people like to go for that, but if you want to be traditional and you want to sound sophisticated, then switch to the minor pentatonic when you get to that chord. Now, he's not using a lot of notes. He's literally just using these notes. He's literally just using the E, the G, and the A kind of bent up to either a B or a B flat. So the B he's bending it up for the when he's playing over the top of the G13, and the B flat when he's playing over the top of the C7. So don't feel like you have to use all of that scale. He's just using the 13th note or the 6th note, the tonic, and then the 9th, and then bending that up to whichever third that he wants to, the flat third or the major third. So just make it simple. Just make it super, super, super simple. Here's an example of me doing that here. Now, I've added in a couple of other little bits. I've added in like a little flair of it kind of going down in the 6ths just to kind of mimic what he was doing in the intro. So I'm playing that kind of thing over the top of it as well, and I'm moving down to a different position just to show you how you can use different positions for kind of doing this stuff as well. So, and there's a classic kind of there's a classic kind of blues movement there as well. So try some of that in there with what you're playing as well. Okay, let's move on to the next section. So we've got more of the kind of same thing here, more of the minor pentatonic over the top of the C7 chord or C9 chord. And he does this really cool little Hendrix grab, which I love. So when he goes up to the C note here and bends up, okay, he bends up and catches, and then comes back down. So he catches the 3rd string, bends the 2nd string up, and then he's caught the third string underneath it with his finger, and then he just plays both of them and then lets them back down. Now, it's really tricky to be able to do that. You've got to maneuver your third finger to be able to tuck the third string underneath with your third finger with the second note, play both, and then let them both down. And then as you come down, you're going to have to let that third string off without letting it ping. So it's going to take some practice to do that. Okay, and then he's back to the G13. And notice that he does that bend of the A up to B this time, not B flat. Okay, but it's Hendrixy. That little thing there where he's catching that third string as he kind of bends up and then plays them both and then comes back down, creating that lovely juicy dissonance. It's a Hendrix thing, so do have a listen to a few Hendrix tunes. He does it in Red House, and I believe that he does it in Foxy Lady as well, but it's all over Hendrix stuff. You can hear it all the time. So if you can nail that, then you've got this, and you've also nailed some Hendrix stuff at the same time as well. Now, the other thing that's really interesting here is the use of a 2-5 chord. So instead of going to the 5 chord, which would be D7, he actually prefaces that 5 chord with a 2. So A minor 7, so a 2 chord. So he's doing a 2-5 going into 1 for the last 2 bars. So that 2 chord there, this kind of rings alarm bells to a lot of people because they go, oh my God, what am I going to play over this 2 chord here? Now, Larry actually doesn't reference the 2 chord at all. He's literally just playing an arpeggio from the 6th. So you've got that. So what he's doing there is it's a G minor arpeggio there. Okay, but then he resolves it to the B natural, making it a G arpeggio. So to all intents and purposes, it's that. And then he's doing a bit of enclosure. Okay, there. And then following it chromatically down to the 3rd, down in this lower position here. This is a beautiful phrase here. Okay, so if you can nail that phrase, you can use that anywhere. It's not unique to Larry. There's lots of people, Albert King, Freddie King, B.B. King. I've seen Eric Clapton use this one, Stevie Ray Vaughan. Lots and lots of people use this lick. It's not unique to Larry, but it's a lovely lick to have in your blues bag. So do make sure that you nail it. Now, what you can also do, because this is simple here, all he's doing is playing kind of G stuff over the top of the 2 chords and kind of ignoring them harmonically. But what you can do is you can not ignore them harmonically and you can get a bit jazzy with it. So here's an exercise showing you how you can do that. So here's the chords that are going on underneath, and they start kind of fairly simple and then get more sophisticated. So you can see I'm using A minor 7 and D9, and then A minor 9 and D13, and A minor 11 and D13 flat 9, and then A minor 9 and D13, kind of going all the way up the fret just to give you the fretboard, just to give you some examples of different voicings. And then here's some arpeggios for what you can do. So an A minor 7 arpeggio and a D7 arpeggio respectively. Here's that. So here's me playing an example of getting a little bit more jazzy, a little bit more sophisticated over the top of the 2-5 by referencing the chords underneath a little bit more. So here's that. Now you can see there that what I'm actually doing is I'm playing a load of notes from the A minor 7 arpeggio. I'm starting on an F sharp and I'm bending it up to a G because I quite like that. It sounds really Dorian-y. And then I'm going down, and I don't actually reference the D7 very much, other than to kind of show some of the notes that are underneath. But really, I'm kind of going for the G kind of sound underneath. So you don't have to always reference the D7 chord. You don't have to always reference the 5 chord. You can just reference the 2 chord, especially when it's going as quick as this. It's not always pertinent to actually kind of reference every single chord that's going on underneath there. It just sounds a mess if you do. So here I'm really kind of focusing on A minor. But there's a few notes from the D in there. There's the D note itself, and then there's also the flat 7, the C on there as well, that I'm referencing a little bit as well. But mostly I'm kind of heading from A minor through to G. And as I said at the beginning, I'm hitting that F sharp anyway, so I'm kind of alluding to the 5 there as well. But really, you just, if you want to get a bit more sophisticated about it, then just add some notes from the D or the A minor 7 chords to the F sharp or the C natural in there. We'll reference both of those chords, and it just creates a little bit more of a sophisticated sound. It just makes it give that a little bit more sparkle. But don't feel like you have to do it every time, because as I said, it can get too messy and complex. So sometimes just do like Larry did and just play G over the top of it, and the chords that are going on underneath will give that sophisticated sound, and you don't have to do anything. Now, for the last 2 bars, we've got this G7 or G13 up to B13, down to A13 and A flat 13. Don't feel like you have to reference those chords when you're playing that. Again, the fact that it's being played in the accompaniment will be sophistication enough. What Larry plays over the top of it is a load of G major pentatonic and slightly G minor pentatonic stuff over the top of it. So follow suit with Larry there when you're playing it, because it does create more of that traditional blues sound there. Top of the next 12 bar is the sax solo, and I want to talk a little bit about the comping that he's using over the top of it. So the chords that are being used here are G13 and G7, and then a C over D, which is basically a C chord with a D in the bass. And he's also using a G7 sharp 9 there as well, classic Hendrixy chord. Okay, and then we're down onto a C9, and he's using those 6th movements there, and then also down to same thing down here. And then he's using some other little what we call dyads there as well. And dyads are basically just 2 notes just to kind of describe what's going on. So over the top of the 2. He's just got the G and the C there. And the G and the C is enough to describe what's going on there, and he just leaves it hanging over the top of the D7. And it does clash the G a little bit, but it's a nice clash. And also over the top of the G7 in the second go-round of the 12-bar blues, he adds in the 3rd. So you've got that there as well. So he's kind of going from a minor 7 sound to a dominant 7th sound by adding in the 3rd and hammering it on there as well. So that's worth looking at as well. Mainly the thing here to remember is just simple, because you've got a solo going on over the top of it. You don't want to get in the way. You don't want to grandstand. So keeping it nice and simple in tone and also in what you're playing rhythmically. You want to sit in with the rhythm section, so just make sure that you're not getting in the way. Listen to the pianist. If there's another guitarist, listen to what they're doing and try and keep out of their way, so that it's not a big mess. But rhythmically, you need to keep it simple there, because otherwise you do just get in the way and you get angry soloists then. Here's an example of me using some of the voicings that Larry's using and some extra ones as well. And then hopefully you can come up with your own over the top of it. So here's an example of me doing that. So you made it to the end. Thank you so much for listening all the way to the end. As I always say with this stuff, don't just play it as a party piece. Actually come up with some of your own examples as well. And make sure that you try it with a band if you've got other people to play with, especially if you've got another soloist to play with, so you can comp underneath them as well. Do send me some examples of what you're working on and how you're getting on with it. If you're on Patreon, make sure that you go to the link below if you want to get onto Patreon and sign up there, and you can get the backing track, and you can play along with the backing track that I've made with my friends Josiah and Joe, and you can send me email it over to me, info@exeterguitarlessons.com. Email me over an example of what you're doing, and I can give you some free feedback. So for next week, we're going to take a look at Larry's solo. So we'll take a look at what he's doing over the top of the solo. So stick with me, and I will see you next week for episode 2. See you then. Bye.